Hey guys, Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. Today we're starting with a brand new Stampin' Stack. This is the Queen Bee Stampin' Stack. This Stampin' Stack makes, let's see here, 9 cards, 2 of this fresh Freesia design. This is our first card. And then 2 Mossy Meadow and 2 Blackberry Bliss. This is the same design, just a different color card base. So 4 of this design and 3 of this Happy Birthday card. So these are all the same design, just different color backdrops to add some excitement to the Stampin' Stack. All right, so this is a Stampin' Stack where we're going to use the Wonder recipe. Let me show you. We're going to use 4 different designer series papers from the Queen Bee Stampin' Stack class packet. So this is the designer series paper. This is a no longer available celebration designer series paper. This is called Favored Flowers, and you're going to get 2 6x6 sheets in the class packet, and you want to choose 4 patterns. Of course, patterns of your choice. I love the Stampin' Stacks with the Wonder recipes because your cards could look completely different from my cards based on which designer series paper you choose. There are class packets available for this Stampin' Stack while supplies last. It includes the designer series paper, the card bases, envelopes, and cardstock pieces, basic shapes that you need cut for all 9 cards. It includes the bedazzling glitter paper, champagne rhinestones, twine. What's not pictured here is your white seam binding ribbon. You get half a spool in the kit, and the class packets are available while supplies last. You can check out kitchentablestamper.com/shop, and when you're in the website there, on the right hand side there's a menu and you can filter for class packets, see if any are available. They're available while supplies last. So I'm going to choose a Fresh Freesia bee pattern, then Mossy Meadow. I'm using the bee sides. You could use a floral in here. It'd be fun to pop a floral in on this. And then I'm using this Blackberry Bliss. What we're going to do is we're going to cut each of the papers according to a different Wonder recipe. All right, so introducing Wonder recipe number 22, 23, and 24. These are printable on the Kitchen Table Stamper blog. And then we're also going to use Wonder recipe number 5. So I'm going to cut each of these pieces and just lay them on the grid. And we're going to bring our trimmer in here. I'm going to start with my Fresh Freesia, which I am going to do according to Wonder recipe number 5. So let's slide these aside for just a minute and let me show you. So what I like to do is just pop my paper into the trimmer. This one is 3x3 pieces, so I'm going to cut this one 3x3. We can do 2 layers, no problem. So we'll go 3x3. And then I'm just going to pop it into the grid on the piece, on the spots, and put it aside. And then next up, we'll do Wonder recipe number 22. If you've never done one of these Wonder recipes with me before, it's like a 1-sheet wonder. And you cut up the paper and then you mix and match the papers to lay out the designs of the cards, and you stop when the paper's all when you've dealt out all the paper. That's how many cards you could make. It's kind of a fun way to just jump in and get started with your stamping. We're going to start with our 3 3/4 inch cut here. Then we're going to take off 4 1-inch slices. And we can pop those right in the grid. Now from what's left, we're going to pop that into the trimmer on the 6-inch side. We're going to cut at 4. Pop this remaining piece And then we're going to split this in half, 1 1/8 inch. And that is wonder recipe number 22. Now, wonder recipe number 23. This one is going to be our Blackberry Bliss paper. We're going to do this one at 3 3/4 again. And then we're going to slice off 2-inch slices. The fun part about the wonder recipe is this is kind of an advanced wonder recipe where we're doing 4 different wonder recipes, 4 different papers. Mix and match the papers to get your 9 cards. But with the wonder recipes, you can also just do one piece. And if you like both sides, for instance, go ahead and mix and match the pieces. And there you've got a lovely bit for your card layouts. So they're expandable. You can do just the one sheet, one wonder recipe. You can do one wonder recipe, 2 sheets. You can do 2 wonder recipes, 2 sheets, and mix and match, deal out the pieces however you like. It's a nice way to jump in and cut the designer series paper. Once the designer series paper is cut, sometimes that opens the floodgates for the creativity. So that's the whole point of the wonder recipe. It's a place to jump in and get started with your crafting, or you can follow right along when I use them in the Stampin' stacks. All right, now last piece and our wonder recipe number 24. I got this Mossy Meadow piece here. And we're going to cut this one down at this one's got kind of a directional pattern going on. I think I'm going to go this way, 3 3/4 again. And you'll also notice between these 3 wonder recipes were drawn up for this class specifically, and they're actually based off of another very early wonder recipe. All right, so we're slicing off 1-inch pieces here. And now this one, I'm going to bring this back, put it in on the 6-inch side, and cut at 4 inches. Now for this Stampin' stack, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to distress the edges of all of the papers. This Stampin' stack has kind of a shabby chic, maybe a little bit romantic feel to it. You'll notice that each of the designer series papers is just a little bit roughed up. Now it's your choice. You can skip that entirely altogether. I know that some people do think that it does look a little bit messy. I don't think so. I think it really adds to the shabby chic quality here we've got going on. So I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to hold them open. I've got my thumb kind of on the blade and the rivet there, and I'm going to just drag the blade along the edge of the paper and just lightly rough it up, and that's it. I'm going to go through and do this with each of these pieces just very lightly. You don't want to go too, there's a difference between shabby chic and just destroying the paper, so just go lightly and go around each of the edges here. And then I'll pop it right back down on the grid. We'll deal them all out to each of the cards in the next step. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do all the sheets and give them all that little bit shabby chic look. Well, after I've done with the scissors and given it kind of a rough edge, kind of a distressed edge, then I'm just going to roll with my thumbs and give each piece just a little bit of shape. All right? Okay, I'm going to distress and I'll see you right back here in just a minute. Okay, so I'm back and I've got all of my bits and they've all been lightly distressed. Let's set them aside for just a minute because the next thing we want to do, we are working on a Stampa stack. We are going to work in a batch type of manner. So go into your card kit and you're going to find the Vellum cardstock. Now I put the Vellum cardstock between the white and the olive, and you have enough cardstock, Vellum cardstock here, to do all of these awesome hive embossed pieces and the bee's wings. So let's go ahead and cut these pieces. All right, so the Vellum piece that's on each of the cards is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. So you're gonna get 2 card fronts out of each half sheet that's in your kit. So let's go ahead and cut those. We're gonna go 4 7/8. And this little strip is something fun to play with later. And by 3 5/8. There is your last card front. Now you're going to have this piece left to do your wings. And then in addition to that piece, off of each half sheet, you'll have a strip like this. This is the perfect size for wings. All right, let's do that next. Now we're going to emboss our vellum layers. Now each of the 9 cards has this embossed vellum layer. So this is another spot where we're going to go ahead and do some batch work. I'm going to get my Hive 3D embossing folder. Don't miss this. If you guys haven't seen it, the Queen Bee dies are on last chance sale, and they are a steal. If you're going to order the Queen Bee dies while supplies last, and the stamps, don't do the bundle, skip the bundle and do the dies and the stamp separately and pick up the Hive embossing folder. You won't be sorry. It's an awesome, very versatile embossing folder. All right, let's get the machine in here, and we've got a 3D embossing folder. So we will do 1 and the folder and 4. Give it a crank, and you're going to do this for all 9 cards. Just do it all at once and save yourself the stopping and starting. Just emboss all your vellum at one time. Look at how cool this is. Is that just not the coolest folder? All right, this side, it's honeycomb. This side, it's more like a bubble wrap. It's got a really cool debossed side as well. All right, so when we've done all of our vellum embossed layers, then we'll do the same and give them a little bit of a distress. You'll have to be kind of careful distressing the vellum. It wants to tear along the hive. So just go real slow and distress the edges a little bit, roll them. They'll start to crackle and crinkle. Do as much or as little as you like. If you're not distressing the edges of your designer series paper, I know that some people don't like that shabby chic distress look, and that is okay. If we're not doing the designer series paper with the distress, then don't worry about doing the vellum. If you're going to do this little distressing, go ahead and do all 9 cards at one time. All right, so we've got our hive vellum. It's a little distressed on the edges, rolled up at the corners. Now what I like to do when I'm doing my Stampa stack is I take my envelopes and I use them to organize my parts. And so by the magic of television, I've got a lot of things that are already done ahead for the Stampa stack. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck one of those vellum pieces into each one of the envelopes, so it's all ready to go. Now let's take our fresh Freesia cards and some white cardstock from the kit. Let's let's do our stamping. We're gonna stamp this beautiful bee, this queen bee, and she is gonna show up over and over again in our Stamp-A-Stack on these two, and then again in our next video for the next 4 cards. So we're gonna color her once here in video number 1, and it's the same throughout the whole series. So again, here's where batch work is gonna come in real handy if you wanted to, and I recommend that you do 7 bees all at one time, and you color 7 bees all at one time. It'll make the Stamp-A-Stack go so fast and so easy. It'll be enjoyable and quick. So let's go ahead and get our queen bee. I'm going to set it up in this Stamparatus so that I can do repeat stamping. I am going to do all my bees at one time. There we go. I like that placement. We're going to color our bees with Stampin' Blend markers. So we want a non-reactive ink. I've got my Memento Tuxedo Black ink here. And I'm going to pop the die set underneath the lid of my Stamparatus. I like the Stamparatus for this because I can stamp, ink, and repeat. I know the news is sad. The Stamparatus is gone and retired and sold out. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop supporting the people who have purchased the Stamparatus from me. I still want to show you how to use it and train you. Use it when it makes sense to use it, and support those of you who have purchased the Stamparatus from me. For those of you who have not had a chance to get it, I'm so very sorry. It sold out very, very suddenly, and I know that it is a highly sought after item at this point. All right, so we've done our ink, stamp, re-ink, stamp, and I stamped 3 times. Let's go ahead and slide this out of the Stamparatus. We're going to close this up, and I'm going to show you how to color our beautiful queen bee. All right, I have Old Olive, Blackberry Bliss, Petal Pink, Fresh Freesia, and Light Calypso Coral. Those are the colors that I'm using for this Stamp-A-Stack. And I'm going to start with my Fresh Freesia sample in here too, so that you can see what we're going for. So we've got these beautiful multicolor floral wings and some purple flowers on the body. And what I like to do is I like to start with one color and I work that color throughout. So I'm going to do all the Fresh Freesia on the body and then the wings. And if I'm doing this Stamp-A-Stack, I'm going to do 7 of these bees. So I'm going to color the body with the light Fresh Freesia. And then I'm going to do a little bit of shading toward the center of the flower. I'm not coloring the center with dark Fresh Freesia. I'm just adding a little dab of dark Fresh Freesia at the base of the petals. Really, really light. It's just a dab, and you don't even have to blend it because it's such a small space. And I'm going to do that for all 7 of my bees. Then I'm going to go to the flowers on the wings, and there's kind of a side view flower there. And then a little cluster of 3 flowers up at the tip of the wing here. And so I'm going to do those in Fresh Freesia. I'm just dabbing to fill these in. They're such little small spaces, but you'll see as we color that it's just going to come alive in a bouquet of color. And then I'll swipe along the bottom, dab at the base of the petals towards the center of the flower, and I'll do that again on all 7 bees. So I'm only going to color this bee once in the first video, because if you're doing the Stamp-A-Stack along with me, I'm hoping that you're doing the whole line all at one time. All right, now I'm going to come in with my Blackberry Bliss, and I'm going to do light Blackberry Bliss. And I'm going to fill the centers of the flowers, all of them. So the ones in the wings and the ones in the body with the light Blackberry Bliss. Now I'm just literally making a dot, just touching till it fills in. Then I'll go with the dark and make an even smaller, little tiny shadow. It's surprising how it will actually give some depth to the center of your flower, but you just swipe very lightly. All right, then we're going to pick up the dark and light petal pink, and I'm going to also pick up light Calypso coral. So I've got all three ready to go, and I'm going to color these flowers, kind of larger flowers at the bottom half of the wing. So I'll go with the light and then with the dark, and with the dark I'm just kind of circling around the center, and from the center I'm going to take the Calypso coral and just dab at the base of the petals and fill the center of the flower. Then the last thing I'll do in this blend is just very lightly take the edge of the Calypso coral and bring it together with the petal pink, and repeat. This time I've got a little different because I had the dark petal pink in hand, so I didn't fill all the way to the end. Kind of doing a reverse blend on this one, doing the light petal pink at the very ends of the petals, Calypso coral in the center, and then kind of radiate out of the center at the base of the petals. All right, there's our peachy flowers. Now let's pick up our old olive, and we're doing all 7 of the little bases of the body here. So there's some leaves at the end of the center row of flowers, and there's one little leaf at the end of at each end of the last row of flowers, the bottom row. Then we're going to do all of our leaves, and you're going to work in little sections with this. Color some with light old olive, and then after you've colored some, maybe half a bee at a time, do each wing, and then bring in a little tiny touch of dark old olive closest to the flowers. And it just really comes to life here. Next wing, that's when I find that it just really starts to pop. I'm going to do the next wing, and we're going to do 7 more bees. And she's really beautiful, don't you think? All right, there's the last light one, and then dark, just a bit from the base of the flowers. Really gives a lot of depth, and all I'm doing is touching with the dark. All right, now we've got some die cutting to do with the queen bee bundle. Let's move our sample, grab our bee. Let's pop her in here. Now, one of the things that I'm going to do for the sake of the video is I'm going to cut my bee out of this half sheet. If I was doing the whole stack, I'd have a bunch of bees on here. But this also works for if you're stamping a stack. If you do different dies on the platform with each rotation, then what you'll find is that you can do less passes overall. So we cut our little bee out, drop our bedazzle paper on and our blushing bride. We're also going to grab one of those little strips. See, this is the perfect little strip, scrap left over. We're going to pop that on. So we can do a bunch of different shapes all in one pass. I'm going to cut out my bee. And a little tip for lining up the bee, you want to make sure that you don't see any white around any edge of the bee. And then you also want to make sure that these little circles that show the feet are black. You want to see the ink, the stamped image in those little circles. see, we need a little crown for our queen bee. And we're going to do this once for each copy of this card. We're doing 2 of these little pink flowers in the small size and 2 in the large size. And let's pop the wings on there. All right, this is our first pass. Let's run this. Oh, I almost forgot my little blingy heart. Okay, we'll set that up on the next pass. So there's our beautiful bee and her wings, little vellum wings. Aren't those cool? Gonna weed that out. Set that aside. Her glitzy crown and a big and a little flower. Now let's reload because we also need a vine for each of these. We need another set of flowers and we need a little heart. I like to set up so that my paper goes out the end of the machine to get the most on the platform as possible. Or you can cut down the pieces that come in the kit. Another Stamp-A-Stack tip is, and something that I do all the time, is to cut your flowers all ahead of time for something like this. So you've got a bunch of flowers that you need for every copy of the card. Count them all up and run them all at one time ahead of time so that you got them all ready. Count all your vines, run all your vines ahead of time, do your little hearts, everything. If you do all your die cutting in batches, it'll really pay off. My scrap's a little too little. All right, and then we've got that half of a wreath. You can see that I've cut some ahead of time. And this is my favorite die in this set. I really love this little vine here. Let's go ahead and pop that on and get our, I wonder if I do like that, if I can get another one this way. We're gonna try. All right. All right, we've got our bits. And let's get our card back in here. We've got a sample and our card base. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of background stamping here on our fresh Freesia card base. This is another opportunity to batch work if you're doing the Stamp-A-Stack with us. If you can do all of your backgrounds at one time, you're going to really maximize your productivity. You're gonna clean the stamps less often to change ink and just be really efficient in your card making. So we've got Blackberry Bliss and we're stamping this little like border piece. It looks like a chain kind of on the diagonal across the top and bottom of the card. Then we're going to come in with this text. I'm going to stamp some off the bottom and some at the top in the corners. Yeah, I think I like that. Maybe up the side a little bit here. Then I'm going to bring in the flower and the crown. I love these little bits to add some more texture to the background. A couple of flowers. How about a crown? Put a crown over here. You're going to do your fresh Freesia with Blackberry Bliss on both copies of the card. And then we're gonna go back at it again with the distress. I'm gonna distress the card base just a little bit down the sides and then into the corner. Roll up the corner just a little bit. And we're going to then adhere our vellum to the card base. I'm going to use up some fast fuse here. You can use some seal or some tear and tape. I like a strong adhesive right in the center, and we kind of curled and distressed those edges. Let those edges just be free. All right, so now we've got our 2 copies of this card, and they're to the same place by the magic of television. This one's all caught up, and we're going to next get our designer series paper pieces. So let's grab our Wonder Recipes, and here's what we need for this one. We're going to need one 1 by 3 3/4 piece of Mossy Meadow from 24 for each card. All right, we can set that one aside. Now we need one of the 2 by 3 3/4 pieces for each card. Blackberry Bliss from Wonder Recipe number 23. And Wonder Recipe number 22, you're going to take these 1 1/8 by 4-inch pieces, and that is your designer series paper for this design. Let's go ahead and adhere those to the card. And of course, it would be really cool, I think, to take one of these papers and flip it and use the A side instead of the B side, maybe the flowers. I don't know. I'm going to stick with the design that we have originally here because I know that it works, and we have 9 cards to make. But I would love to see if you choose different papers from your packet and put this together a little bit differently, please share in the Kitchen Table Stamper Craft Social. That is our little corner of Facebook where we craft and share, and we just have a whole lot of fun. And so we'd like to see if you do this Stampa stack and you mix up the papers or do it with a different bundle. I have a friend who's doing this Stampa stack with her Dragonfly bundle. So if you do it with something different, or if you mix it up a little, we love to see that. Come and share on the Craft Social. All right, the next thing I want to do is put together my bumblebee, frankly, because I don't want to lose that little heart. So let's go ahead and grab a roll of glue dots. I like the mini glue dots for these bees. I'm going to put a mini glue dot right in the center of the vellum wings, and then I'm going to put the vellum wings on the bee. And we can line up that glue dot, the center, just about with the little heart that's printed on the stamp bee. Now we're going to take your pick tool, and I'm going to fold the glue dot, and then I'm going to drop the little heart on the folded glue dot. Heart's just a little bit smaller than the glue dot. We can pick that up and add it right in the center of the wings. And now we have a gorgeous bee. Lift the wings a bit, all assembled. And we can also adhere our bees to the card with a little bit of this fast fuse. You could use some liquid glue here. But we're gonna pop that little lady right on. I'm going to grab some liquid glue now, and we'll put the wreaths. I've got my liquid glue, and I'm just going to squeeze the bottle really lightly and kind of curve with the wreath, and then I'll dab just a few of the leaves. A little bit of glue goes a very, very long way. Put that for each of our cards. I love this card. It's might be my favorite. I tend to save my favorite for last, but not this time. I think we're kicking it off with my favorite, although the whole stack is really beautiful. And then another little wreath. Let's get the crowns on. A little dimensionals, little mini dimensionals are perfect for this little crown. Make that glimmer paper really stand out. Haha, so cute. All right, let's do our flowers. We'll shape them next. I'm going to bring my Stampin' Pierce mat in here, and the flowers that we cut, let's give them a little shape. I like to shape them by just pressing them into the Stampin' Pierce mat using the capped putty end of my Take Your Pick tool. Now you can do a glue dot here or a dab of glue. A dab of glue is usually what I do, but for the sake of a quick grab, we're gonna put a little mini glue dot. It'll go fast for those of us who are feeling a little impatient like me. And there's our flower. I'll go ahead and press again, get that glue dot, and then I'll take the center petals and pull them in just a little bit more. There's my flowers. We're going to make 2 of these for each card. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the champagne basic rhinestones. You've got those in your kit. And I'm going to do a big one and a medium one on the center of the flowers here. All right, now what I like to do is take my mini glue dots and then pop the completed flower just right on a glue dot. We can set that aside for just a minute, and let's get the packet. There's nothing left of my packet. I've been working on my cards. You've got these little fresh Freesia tags in your packet. You're going to need one for each card. And your Blackberry Bliss ink pad. All right, you want your tag to thread on the left side, and we're going to stamp Beloved right from that Queen Bee stamp set. I'm going to take about 7 inches. You can probably do a little bit less if you've got good dexterity. Got some twine in your kit here. Take off about 7 inches, and we'll thread. I think this one's even 6.5. So if you can we're going to do a thread knot. So you're going to pull the tails through and then wrap around your finger. Take the tails and tuck it into the loop you've created and pull. You have a cute little greeting tag there, and that needs a dimensional also. So pop a little dimensional on our Beloved tag. So cute. Let's get our cards back in here. We're just going to follow our sample now. We've got our little Beloved tags. Let's add that to the card. And then our flowers are going to hold that little linen thread in place. Add the flowers. Cute. Let's catch up. All right, last up, a little bow. Got some white crinkle seam binding ribbon here. You're going to get, and if you get the packet, a half a spool. If you get the whole stamp camp, you'll get a full spool of this ribbon in your stamp camp. There is a coordinating stamp camp for this Queen Bee stack. Check out the blog, kitchentablestamper.com, for details. The Stamp Camp is available online only. It's $24.95. There's 5 projects. It's 3 fun fold cards and 2 treats. You can take it online only for $24.95, or check the Kitchen Table Stamper store, see if there's available packets while supplies last. All right, so we got our little bow and another glue dot. Pop that on. And that's gonna snug right up next to the flowers and also secure that twine a little bit more. I'm doing a Stamp-A-Stack, so I tied all my bows at one time, stuck them to glue dots so they're all ready to go. Another little Stamp-A-Stack trick. If you tie all your bows at one time, it's much easier to finish the Stamp-A-Stack. All right, now we've got some bling, but we need just a little bit more. Let's grab our champagne rhinestones and take your pick tool. And I'm going to be generous with these little guys. You get quite a bit in your class packet. So let's go ahead and do 3 more champagne rhinestones. So do 5 altogether, plus that bedazzled paper. Whew! I love this Stamp-A-Stack. I hope that you're enjoying it. If you've got any questions about the project, about the class packet, if there's anything I can do to help you stay crafty, email Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. And to shop Stampin' Up! 24/7, you can buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.